There are few things in this world that can bridge older generations with younger generations. Ideas, beliefs, mannerisms, and trends are constantly changing, and they shift how we interact with one another. But one thing always seems to be able to bridge that gap: Disney Pixar movies. Up, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and of course Toy Story are all movies that grandparents love just as much as the grandkids. They bring generations together for hours at a time and create a memory that can last in our minds forever. One of my favorite memories growing up was always going up to my Nana's house over winter break. She would immediately pile my brother and I into the car, drive us up to the Blockbuster where we would each get to pick out our own movie and box of candy. She'd drive us home, pop us some fresh popcorn, we'd pour the salt and butter on the top, and we'd all scurry down the stairs into the rec room, pile together, and enjoy our show. We snacked together, we laughed together, we inevitably fell asleep halfway through the movie together, and then we enjoyed it the next day together. Those are memories that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Now that I have a little one of my own, we do the same thing here. His favorite movie, of course, being Moana, which we have seen enough times that I could recite the entirety of the script from the top of my head. But that's what got me into thinking, who creates these films? When we think Disney, we of course think Walt Disney and all that he created and designed. But who designs that now? Who thinks of Moana, creates it into a storyboard, and makes it a cornerstone of our lives today? That brought me into understanding who John Lasseter is, who is surprisingly one of the most influential men that some people don't even know the name of. He's the main man that's behind a lot of our most beloved movies, and was up until 2017 when his scandal emerged. Now before that, he was just a little boy growing up in Los Angeles. His mother was a high school arts teacher and always tried to cradle his love for art. He won his first award at the Whittier Mold Market for drawing the Headless Horseman in crayon at age 5. And since then, his love of drawing never died. In school, he studied character animation, and during that time, he won 2 awards, one for Lady and the Lamp and the other for a short film, Nightmare. His professors, who were former artists at the Disney Empire themselves, tried to help guide him along the way because clearly computer animation was his destiny in life. Once he graduated in 1979 from the California Institute of Art, he was quickly scooped up by Disney. Starting out, his first productions that he worked on were Fox and the Hound, as well as Mickey's First Christmas Carol. While most of us would think these are amazing productions to be a part of on our first job, Lasseter yearned for more. Finally, in 1983, he was able to take the role of director and designer for Where the Wild Things Are. This was one of Disney's first shots at trying to combine their traditional real-life character drawings with layering it with computer animations for a variance that had really yet to be seen on the market. He was excited for this step. Starting then, his idea of computer animations was to create a new medium within the art form of animation, but not completely wipe it out altogether. This began to switch slightly in 1984 when he joined Pixar. He very quickly took a key role in not only that company, but also in the film they were producing at the time, Young Sherlock Holmes, in 1985. He was the animator behind The Glass Knight that manifested himself out of the stained glass window in the chapel. In 1987, he was nominated for his first Oscar and was actually awarded his first Oscar in 1989 for The Tin Toy. That Oscar won Best Animated Short Film. It was the first completely digitally animated film ever released by Pixar. While some of us might look back on it now and think it's quite edgy, strange, and creepy, it was a breakthrough back then. It was also the inspiration for the world's beloved Toy Story. Once Toy Story came out, John Lasseter was clearly at the apex of his career. He was deemed executive of creative matters at Pixar, and once Pixar and Disney merged together, Lasseter was not only labeled the Chief Executive Officer, but also the Chief Creative Officer, making him the CCO and CEO of Disney Pixar, which is a pretty tall order. Unfortunately, this all kind of came to a crash in 2017 when a pattern of allegations began to erupt around his name. They were first mentioned to the mainstream media when John released a memo that went out to the entirety of his staff. In the memo, it stated that he was going on a 6-month sabbatical to reflect on some of his missteps in the workplace. These missteps include unwanted hugging, kissing, as well as fondling during work meetings. He even mentioned these and somewhat showcased them, quite frankly, on one of the Pixar documentaries that was released on YouTube.com, John Lasseter, A Day in the Life. In this 25-minute documentary, around the 8-minute mark, it really begins to show how many hugs this man would give in a day. Starting off, he went straight in and hugged his receptionist for a slightly uncomfortable amount of time. These good morning hugs, which appear to be the most abundant misstep, were not only directed at women, but also men. While these hugs seem innocent enough in themselves, a lot of the staff took them as not only inappropriate, but demeaning. One of his victims stated that it undermined everything that they had said prior in the meeting. Issues like this are honestly quite complex. An employee can feel stuck in the position they're in because it's not just a coworker they're trying to call out, it's their boss, it's the person that signs their checks. How does one person go after the CEO of such a major company like Disney Pixar? Thankfully, John Lasseter decided to step down himself and went silent for a bit, only to re-emerge as the head of animation at Skydance Media. Their most recent production was Terminator Dark Fate, and that will change here in December of this year once they release Top Gun Maverick. It'll be interesting to see how he can recover not only his career, but his legacy, going from a little boy that loved to draw with crayons to CEO of Disney Pixar to an action film production team is quite a strange leap. But all we can do now is observe and wish for the best.